Hey everybody, and welcome back to Comic Issues Daily, the fastest place to catch up on everything happening in comics, collectibles, and geek culture. Today we're diving into DC versus Marvel, an insane Transformer toy line twist, and a new look at the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and a whole lot more straight out of New York Comic 5. Let's get into it. Before we do jump into that, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor of I Have Comic Issues. Ron's Comic Closet. They got one of the best online selections of new comics, some back issues, and other stuff, collectibles. Plus, if you use code IHAVEISSUES at checkout, you'll get 20% off your first order with Ron's Comic Closet. So check that out, and let's get into the news. All right, first off, we got some question for you. It's official. DC is beating Marvel at every turn right now, and they are really just kicking it up. So first off, if you've read, I read this really interesting piece arguing that DC is actually beating Marvel right now, not in raw sales, which they are still pretty close, but in identity and storytelling. DC has spent the last few years crafting a clear emotional message: hope. Superman sits at the center of their entire multiverse, representing that ideal that inspires every other hero around him. There's a consistency in tone and purpose that really makes their universe feel unified. On the other hand, still has amazing icons like Spider-Man and Captain America, but there is no single guiding philosophy tying their worlds together. The X-Men, Avengers, and the Guardians all feel like they're living in separate spaces with little emotional overlap. It's not that the books are bad, they just lack that clear heartbeat that DC's been leaning into. And when you compare their alternate universes, the gap gets wider. DC's new Absolute Universe builds everything around hope and resistance against Darkseid's despair that's baked right into every storyline. Meanwhile, Marvel's new Ultimate Universe feels more fragmented. The article basically says that DC's emotional backbone is stronger than Marvel's structural one. And that's what's giving them the edge right now. Would you side with DC or Marvel on this one? Drop your thoughts below. I'm curious who you think is really telling better stories right now. Hey, Brian, how are you doing today? And Optimus Prime has a new look in the toy line that fans are losing it about. All right, let's talk about one of the biggest NYCC Shockers Energon Universe panel. Transformers writer Robert Kirkman dropped a bombshell. He debuted a leader-scale Optimus Prime action figure featuring Megatron's arm fused to Prime's body after a heroic act of sacrifice. The figure, inspired one of the comic's most emotional moments, is now available for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse. Over on the G.I. Joe side of things, Joshua Williamson previewed the next huge storyline, the Dreadnought War, launching in G.I. Joe 13 this November. They show off killer new designs for villains like Zarana, Xandar, Ripper, and Torch, and Rogue Pig finally joins the mix in issue number 14. Oh, and they teased a Night Force standalone issue focusing on fan favorite like Roadblock. And then Kirkman wrapped up the panel by confirming that Void Rivals is heading into a brand new arc called the Quintesson War, saying something he says will change the sacred ring forever. So yeah, this shared universe isn't slowing down anytime soon. If that blew your mind too, hit the like button and tell me what reveal from NY. And here's a question for you. Were the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants ever really actually evil? But that's the question we got in this next little article for you. It's one of those hot take pieces that's really going to make you think. The argument is that the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants were never actually evil. They weren't trying to conquer the world. They were fighting for mutant kind, just using much more military methods than the X-Men. Look, at Magneto's era, yeah, his actions were extreme, but they came from trauma. A Holocaust survivor who never wanted mutants to face that kind of persecution again. When Mystique and Destiny took over, their mission was to protect mutants, just without the PR filter. That's why the government eventually hired them as the Freedom Force. They crossed the line from villain to necessary evil. And honestly, when you think about it, if Wolverine and Cable can be called heroes despite killing people, then the Brotherhood shouldn't automatically be labeled monsters. They've dropped the of evil mutants for a reason. They weren't villains. They were just willing to fight for the mutant rights a little louder and a little dirtier than the X-Men ever did. Would you call them heroes or still villains? Let me know what side you are in the comments. I guess they would probably fall into the anti-hero category then, just with a little bit more resistance against them. And then we got Marvel's Most Savage Revenge Stories. Let's talk about that coming up. Marvel has no shortage of savage revenge stories, and this list really drives home how personal those moments get. What makes Marvel's revenge arcs so heavy is that they attack heroes' identity, not just their body. Like take the Green Goblin killing Gwen Stacy. That wasn't about domination. It was about breaking Peter Parker's spirit. Thanos wiping out half of all life in the universe. That was pure devotion to death, not some twisted eco mission. And then there's the Centauri ripping Ares, the literal god of war, in half, completely destroying Asgard afterwards. But nothing hits harder than the Scarlet Witch. In Avengers Disassemble and House of M, she breaks reality itself and mutters, "No more mutants," nearly erasing her own people. And don't forget, Wolverine and Old Man Logan, after the Hulk gang murdered his family, he literally let himself be eaten by elderly Bruce Banner and then regenerated inside him and tore his way out. Brutality doesn't even begin to cover it. Which of these revenge stories hits you the hardest? Let me know. And if you love this breakdown, give me a video. Give this video a quick thumbs up. And then we got some DC heroes that deserve the HBO spotlight or Max spotlight. With James Gunn and Peter Safran steering the DCU, animation is becoming a serious storytelling platform. And man, there are some heroes way overdue for their HBO spotlight. First up, Green Arrow, a gritty animated series, could finally dig into his radical politics and anti-corruption fight. That'd be pretty interesting if they brought like the Arrow storyline into comics or into animation. That could be pretty cool. And then like Mike Grail's legendary run. And then there's Cassandra Cain, the mute assassin turned Batgirl. Sounds interesting. Her journey through trauma and redemption would look incredible told through pure action and expression. Be like a G.I. Joe silent issue, but for Batgirl. And can you believe Wonder Woman has never had her own solo animated series? That could be pretty interesting. It would be wild. HBO could dive deep into the Greek myth side of her story and finally give Themyscira the treatment it deserves. Well, we should see what Themyscira is going to be like, because I think they're doing the live action TV show called Paradise Lost or something like that. But it's going to be about the Amazons on Themyscira. So that could be interesting. And then on the weirder side, we could have Animal Man. It could be a trippy, fourth wall breaking meta adventure straight from the Grant Morrison run. And then finally, we could get everybody's favorite magician or wizard, John Constantine. An adult animated horror series would let Hellblazer truly be Hellblazer. Grotesque demons, nightmarish landscapes, and zero special effects limits. That could be pretty interesting. Which DC hero do you think deserves the HBO treatment? Drop your comments and let me know. And then Marvel has made some announcements about TV over at NYCC. Marvel TV and animation went all in at NYCC this year, and they were some huge reveals. Daredevil Born Again Season 2 drops next March on Disney Plus with Christine Ritter returning as Jessica Jones. Matt Murdock is reuniting with Karen Page, and Bullseye is officially in the mix. And then animation fans, we're going to be eating pretty good too, because X-Men 97 Season 2 lands in the summer of 2026 with a third season already greenlit and Apocalypse stepping in as the brand new big bad. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2 is coming next fall, and we're finally getting the Venom symbiote introduced at Oscorp. And then there's Vision Quest, the big WandaVision finale series. We didn't get leaked footage, but the panel confirms human versions of AI characters like Jarvis, played by James Darcy, and Cass Rudari. I don't know how to say that actor's name. They've already casted the person who's going to be playing Thomas Shepard, aka Speed. The showrunner teases one sequence as a Marvel dream, so expectations are sky high for this 2026 release. I hope it's good. I like most of the Marvel TV shows, but there are some that have fallen a little bit short. What Marvel shows are you most hyped to see after NYCC? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button. And if you are keeping up with all the comic news, please do that. And then here's an interesting story. We got Psylocke versus Elektra, and this is the battle that fans didn't know they needed. All right, Marvel's giving us a wild slice of untold X-Men history with Psylocke Ninja, a 5-issue miniseries hitting in January. Is set right after Psylocke's rebirth in the early 90s, where she's torn between her telepathic self and her new ninja body. In the twist, she ends up facing Elektra, Marvel's most deadly assassin, in an all-out clash of skill and precision. Writer Tim Seeley calls it a spiritual successor to his Rogue the Savage Land run, connecting Psylocke's Hand era to Daredevil's world in a way that just clicks. Artist Nico Leon said drawing Psylocke and Elektra feels like being a kid again. It's that pure comic book energy, kind of fun. Marvel's calling this one of the fiercest face-off in X-Men lore. And honestly, it sounds like it's going to live up to that hype. Who you got in this showdown, Psylocke or Elektra? Let me know below, and let's move on. And guess what? Darkseid is back, and he's playing 4D chess. So DC's got a massive event on deck. It's already came out with DC KO issue number 1. Got my copy right here. The revealing is absolutely insane. The story revolves around a cosmic tournament where the mightiest heroes and villains are battling to find the one true alpha who can stop Darkseid and become this world's King Omega. But here's the twist. Darkseid himself set it all up. He's been hiding in plain sight as a member of the Quantum Quorum. Spoiler, he's disguised as Booster Gold. Turns out that after being destroyed while bonding to the Spectre, Darkseid's consciousness slipped through the multiverse and merged with reality itself, becoming King Omega. Yeah, he basically evolved into the ultimate version of himself. Now he's reshaping the Elseworld into a brutalist nightmare with 3 destroyers waiting in the wings. The heroes think they're planning an intervention, but really they're walking right into his trap. Classic Darkseid move. And what do you think this means for the Absolute Universe? Sound off. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Absolute Universe, and let me know what do you think is going to happen to them. And hit that like button. And then in some comic industry news, or not industry news, but collector news, 47 Lost Superman comics just showed up. And here's why that is a huge idea, or huge to the market. This one is a pretty wild story. 47 copies of the legendary Superman This Island Bradman comics have just been auctioned off in the UK. This thing's famous because it's one of the rarest post-Golden Age Superman books ever made. Back in 1988, a wealthy British investor named Godfrey Bradman had to destroy his son Daniel's entire comic book collection because his room had asbestos. To make up for it, he paid DC Comics to create a custom one-off Superman story written by David Levin and drawn by Kurt Swan and Angelo Torres, just for a son's bar mitzvah. And Daniel wasn't exactly thrilled with it, though afterwards 48 copies were given to an employee who later sold them at a car boot sale for 20 pounds. Mixed in with some Star Trek books. This is an interesting story. Since then, the comics became legendary. Only about 20 copies have ever been traded publicly, but now this one buyer is selling all 47 copies through Eubanks auction. They're ranging all the way up to a CGC 9.6. And yeah, flooding the market might cool prices short term, but if you're a Superman or DC collector, this could be your one shot to grab one at a reasonable price. Would you buy one of these rare Superman issues if you had the chance? Let me know. And then we're going to go into the Daily Shakers report from CovrPrice. All right. All right, let's close things out today with the CovrPrice Daily Shakers. And we got some heavy hitters that are moving in the market right now. We got both Golden Age and Silver Age icons trading hands, and the prices are nothing short of impressive. Starting at the top, we got Sensation Comics number 39 from 1945 in a CGC 9.4 copy, just sold for $6,600. And that's a Wonder Woman era Golden Age power right there showing up. And then next, we got a classic Avengers number 1 from 1963 and a CGC 6.0 went for $4,844. And this proves that Marvel team debuts never really cool off. And then we got Batman 16 from 1943 in a CGC 6.0, bringing in $4,800. And another Golden Age Batman just keep rising. And it doesn't stop there because Batman 12 and Batman 10, both early 1940s issues, each landed around $3,600 a piece. Batman is definitely owning the leaders board this week. And for Marvel fans and for Brian LCS, who's in the chat, Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1 from 1964 in a CGC 8.0 pulled in $4,055. And that's the first appearance of the Sinister Six. So no surprise, it's holding strong. And then we got another Avengers book making waves. Avengers 112 from 1973 and a CGC 9.8 sold for $3,450. That's high grade Bronze Age books are catching more collectors' attentions. And then for the mutant fans, which I am, even a CGC 1.0 copy of X-Men number 1 from 1963 sold for $3,383. I got to start saving up my money. Just showing how bulletproof those early Marvel keys really are. And rounding it out, we got a rare Golden Age gem, Headline Comics number 4 from 1943 in a CGC 8.5, went for $3,360, followed closely by Batman number 7 from 1941 in a CGC 6.0, still managed to make a sale of $3,120. So yeah, the market's clearly flexing. Batman continues to dominate. I think they have 4 in the top 10. Silver Age Avengers stay hot, and those early Golden Age books are showing that true vintage comics aren't going anywhere anytime soon. If you're a collector tracking long-term value, this week's cover price list is proof that quality keys are still king. Give it a like if you enjoy seeing these classic books holding strong. And now, just want to remind everybody that this is October. It's Comics Curing Cancer Month. And at the end of the week, or at the end of the month, October 24th through the 26th, Comics Curing Cancer is going to be having an auction that's going to be taking place the entire weekend throughout multiple live streams on YouTube. So I have the schedule for y'all to check out, and here it is. All right, and if you didn't know, I have another live stream that I do every week, and it is called Comics Channel Origins, where I talk with comic book YouTube content creators about how they've grown their channel and gone from their very start to where they are now. And this past week, I interviewed What's on the Comic Rack, or Mr. Aiken. And this week, my guest is going to be Mike from Lunch Money Comics, and it will be at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern on Sunday evening. So please join us, ask questions. We'll all have a good time. And that's going to wrap it up for today's Comic Issues Daily. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and drop a comment and tell me which story grabbed your attention the most. DC's big win, Prime's new arm, or maybe the Lost Superman comics. And don't forget to check out Ron's Comic Closet, who's the sponsor of the show. And if you use code IHAVEISSUES at checkout, you'll get 20% off your first purchase. I'll see you tomorrow for more comic book news, hot takes, and collector updates right here on Comic Issues Daily. All right, see you later. Bye.